How's it going, everyone? Table Slam here, back with another one. And no, that title is not clickbait. We're not going to be using Wolfshead at 40. And it's not because we're choosing not to. That's ridiculous. We would never choose to not use Wolfshead. That's just silly. It's because we can't. We won't be able to. The reason that I'm pretty sure this is the case is because of the profession cap. We already know, just from in-game, I'm in-game in SOD right now, requires level 41 to learn the level of the profession that takes you above 225. So because of that, level 41, 225 is going to be the profession cap for level 40. This is the level. Artisan is the one that you train to go past 225. So if that requires level 41 to learn that, then the profession cap at 40 is 225. Pretty simple to understand. This isn't new. This has been in the game already. Like, we knew this a while ago already. The problem with that isn't Wolfshead itself. Wolfshead itself only requires 225 leatherworking to craft, level 40 to equip the actual helm itself. So, like, it kind of looks, just from this, like we'll be able to do it because it only requires 225 to craft. The issue is not the actual pattern for Wolfshead. It's the stuff you got to do to be able to make one in the first place. There's a bunch of quests you have to do in order to become a tribal leatherworker, which is what allows you to craft a Wolfshead helm. Tribal leatherworking requires you to turn in this vest and helmet, a wild leather vest and wild leather helmet, which is crafted. And in order to learn how to craft those, you have to do a quest from this guy, this NPC at Camp Mahachi for the Horde. And there's one in Feathermoon Stronghold for the Alliance that gives you all these quests. You have a whole bunch of these that you have to turn in order to learn how to make all this stuff. You have to do all of these. You have to, all of these wild leather stuff, you have to do all of those in order to unlock this quest. Like, this quest won't even appear for you until you've done all of these. Most of them are fine. The one that's the problem is the wild leather boots quest. That's the problem one. Because wild leather boots has you make 2 nightscape pants and 2 nightscape boots to turn in order to get this pattern. And the nightscape pants require 230 leatherworking to craft it, and the nightscape boots require 235 leatherworking to craft those. So because of that, this one quest alone means we can't finish out all of those wild leather quests. So because of all that stuff, we won't be able to run Wolfshead at level 40 because it won't be possible for us to become a tribal leatherworker to make a Wolfshead. This is going to affect a few things. It's going to potentially affect the way that we set our talents. Won't really affect too much about gearing. It's mainly talents is what it's going to affect. Now, of course, we don't know what we're getting for runes. We could get a rune that does the same thing as Wolfshead and then kind of problem solved, I guess. But what if we don't get a rune? Then our talents are going to change. So if somehow Blizzard makes it possible for us to get tribal leatherworking and make a Wolfshead, then we'll probably want to run something like this for talents, where we still have 5 points in Furor, and then we have either Wolfshead or a rune equipped that will give us an additional 20 energy when we enter cat form, or just enough energy to shred twice with a talented shred, basically, is all we need. We don't actually need 20. We just need enough so that we can shift and shred twice. That's all we need. So we would run something like this, you know, get down to get improved shred, get some other talents here, get the extra attack power from predatory strikes, and you get the extra strength from having a point into Heart of the Wild. This talent build would be nice because then we could do Fairy Fire. Like, if you have to wait for like an energy tick or something like that, and you're not going to shift, you're going to wait for a tick, you can just Fairy Fire while you wait for the tick. And then you can be the one that upkeeps Fairy Fire instead of having either a Boomkin or a Resto do it. You could probably do it yourself where it's convenient to. And of course, then in this case, Shred would be our primary builder, and we'd still be power shifting with Furor. So again, we need to have Furor plus something that gives us extra energy on top of Furor when we enter cat form, in the same way that Wolfshead does. We can either get Wolfshead itself or a rune that does a similar thing. And then we'll be able to use Shred as our primary builder because we'll be entering cat form with enough energy to shred, get a tick, and then shred again. If we don't get that, we're probably still going to have Mangle as our primary builder. And if we have Mangle as our primary builder, we're probably going to run something like this, which is pretty similar to what our current Phase 1 talent build is. We just have some extra points in the Feral Tree, and we have some points into Natural Shapeshifter. This is what I think we would potentially be running if there was no Wolfshead or Wolfshead adjacent thing added to the game. Similar deal, you put points in so you get down to Omen of Clarity, and you get down to Sharpened Claws. These points kind of don't really... They matter like a little bit, but not that much. Like, you might not want the points into here. It's helpful to have the extra stealth levels, I guess, but you don't really get any damage out of that. You could just put these 5 points into Feral Aggression instead, so you're getting the energy reduction from Mangle, but you're also getting the extra bite damage. Keep in mind, the rate is Nomergon. The normal Nomergon from like Era and Classic and whatever is kind of not great for bleeds. All of the bosses are either elemental or mechanical, so they're immune to bleeds. So if you have extra combo points and you're able to spend them on damage instead of just refreshing Savage Roar, you can spend those points on a bite instead of on rip, because everything's going to be immune to rip, so use bite instead. So, and of course you still have the points in Furor. So this is what I would envision us running, except for, you know, maybe instead of Feral Instinct you run Feral Aggression instead. And then of course you have the extra crit from Sharpened Claws. And then there's 2 points left over. There's not really anywhere to put them, so you can put them in a natural shapeshifter to reduce the mana cost of shapeshifting, which allows us to get more power shifts out. So this is the no Wolf's Head, no, you know, bonus energy rune build that I would consider going with. Let me just actually... I'm just going to do that just for argument's sake, just so... There we go. So, okay. So this is a build that I would consider running, potentially, if we don't get any bonus energy stuff, whether it's Wolf's Head or a rune. You know, no bonus energy stuff. Mangle primary builder. This is the build that I would probably run for max DPS. And then if we do get Wolf's Head or something, you know, Wolf's Head adjacent, then I could see us running something like this. And then, you know, similarly, you could probably, you know, you could do that. You could do like points in a bash or whatever. You could throw a point into there and then, you know, finish it out like that. Something like that. Or like instead of Fairy Fire, you could potentially like put the point into Feral Charge instead. But there's a few flex points basically. Like these 3 points are kind of flex. You can kind of put them pretty much wherever. Like you could even, instead of doing that, you could just put them in for open world stuff and then not even, you know, like you could do that. Or you could do, there's a few different things that you could do with this build. But the important thing is Improved Shred, Savage Fury, Predatory Strikes, 1 point in Heart of the Wild, and Blood Frenzy. Those are the important ones. The rest of it is kind of like, whatever, do whatever you want. But of course, Furor as well is non-negotiable. So like all of these different options we have available to us, it really just boils down to, is Mangle going to be our primary builder or is Shred going to be our primary builder? That's something that we don't quite know yet because we don't know what runes we're going to get. We don't know if there's any new runes that are going to potentially affect what our primary builder is going to be. So because of that, it's hard to say one way or the other definitively what we'll be doing at 40, but these are a couple of options that we will potentially have just so that we're not blindsided by the choice when it comes down to it. So that's what I would say. It's probably going to be one of those 2 builds depending on what our primary builder is going to be. And what our primary builder is going to be will depend on whether or not we get the ability to use Wolfshead Helm or some rune that gives a Wolf's Head-like effect. All right, that's kind of all I really had to talk about. Sorry to break the news to anybody who didn't realize that we probably weren't going to get Wolf's Head at 40. It just gives us something to look forward to at 50, I guess. At 50, we will be able to have Wolf's Head, so that's nice. 40 should be interesting. I'm excited to see what runes we get. Hopefully everybody else feels the same way. Thanks for watching. See you next time.